Welcome to Secrets of Stand-Up Comedy. I'm Dick Williams. I'm going to tell you everything I know about stand-up so you can be a better comedian. I want to talk to you about your writing versus your performing. There's a very interesting phenomenon that can happen. You'll write down a joke. It'll sound funny in your head, but then when you read it back, it sucks. It's just not what you thought. And then you tinker with it, you change words around, and you read it again, and you think you got it going, and it just falls flat. And it seems like, man, I know this is funny, but for some reason, it lays there on the page. I'm not going to do that joke now. I'm just going to shuffle this behind. I'm not going to give this joke an audience by performing it. I'm going to read you one of those jokes. Excuse me. You know when you go to a concert and it's like punk rock music or something, and the kids get on stage and they jump into the crowd? It's called stage diving, right? Some people think that's dangerous, but not me, because humans are made out of 95% water. So the audience is 5% away from a pool. To me, if I just read that out, it's not funny. And it's like, oh, okay, human beings are mainly water. That's only 5% away from a pool. So it's like they're stage diving into a pool. And I wouldn't do that on stage. However, if I match that with a certain performance style, a certain way of speaking, the overall persona, it sounds like this. And I'm not going to play the clip on here. I'm going to let you listen to it because I don't want to deal with copyright and all that stuff.
You know, you go to a concert and it's like punk rock music or something, and the kids get on stage and they jump into the crowd. It's called stage diving, right? Some people think that's dangerous, but not me, because humans are made out of 95% water. So the audience is 5% away from a pool.
Hey. Stage diving. 5% away from being a pool. It's Mitch Hedberg. And this is true of a lot of comics. If you just read the joke in a book, you'd be like, I don't get it. But when it's Mitch Hedberg performing that material, it's like, oh, wow. Okay, I get it. Especially in his later years. I'm not saying that his material is weak by any means. I'm saying you can't always judge a joke just by how it's written. That's why the performance and the persona, especially, is so important. If you weren't that familiar with Mitch Hedberg, I know there's a lot of huge Mitch Hedberg fans, but let's say you didn't recognize that and you just went off of what I said. Or I gave you a book that had all of his material written out. You may not get a lot of his jokes. But when you see him later on in his career with those big sunglasses, the long hair, his cadence, his rhythm, his timing, what words he accentuates, it all comes together. So I want you to go back through your act and look at some of those jokes that you didn't really give a fair shot because you didn't perform them. Go back and watch some of your tapes from your sets and say, okay, why didn't this work? Was it because the joke was weak, or is it because I don't have a real handle on who I am on stage, or what my persona is, or how the crowd views me? Why am I not playing into certain aspects? So now, just looking at myself, I look like I'm in my Hemingway era. So if I went on stage, I may try, and I'm going to be trying out all kinds of stuff. I may try to be an Orson Welles type character, delivering my material. You have to work with what you got. You have to see how the crowd views you, as well as who you really are as an individual inside. And that's when it comes down to writing your material, picking the material, and then performing the material. I talk a lot of times about giving your material a fair shake, a fair chance, doing it 3 times. And then if it doesn't work 3 different times with 3 different audiences and 3 different types of scenarios, an open mic, a regular show, in the middle of your killer material, wedge it in there so that the crowd already trusts you, likes you, thinks you're funny. If it doesn't work those 3 times, then set it aside. You don't have to throw it away. But there's a lot of times we're not giving our material a fair chance because we're not really performing it. And so jokes that initially made us laugh ourselves, and we're our hardest critics, we're just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I do that all the time. I'm like, yeah, this isn't stage worthy. It's like sponge worthy from Seinfeld. I know that's an older reference, but when Elaine only had so many birth control sponges, she would determine whether or not some men were sponge worthy. And that's what comics talk about with material, especially online. If somebody posts something, I'll write stage worthy, meaning you should take this offline and perform it. It's that funny to me. So go through your act, and when you're writing the jokes out, go in your vehicle, go in your car, go into your basement or someplace that you're not going to be disturbed, and try it out. Get it to work. What do you have to do to convey the original thought you had in your head, and you put it through that process of refining it down to the essentials of the setup and the punchline? What do you now have to do to convey that to the audience and why it's funny? And sometimes it won't work. But a lot of times we give up on stuff that could otherwise make a whole career. The podcast is going strong. I think I have 20 of them up right now as of this recording. And for those of you listening to the podcast, this is my 90th video, by the way. I'm going through and I'm taking all the old videos that I originally did on YouTube, and I'm converting them into podcasts so that you can listen whenever you want to and you don't have to watch the video. So subscribe to that. I know it's on Apple and Spotify and a bunch of other ones. There's a couple that I'm having issues with because the link doesn't include my email, and they need that, so I'm waiting to hear back from the service provider to help me out with that. And I'm sprinkling in some of the newer ones if they're timely. So the one about Joe Coy doing the Golden Globes, and the one about Cat Williams with Shannon Sharp. And at the time of doing this right now, the Shannon Sharp Cat Williams interview is up to like 40 million views. And I know that it's hard to tell how many people watch the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing is almost 3 hours, but those are insane numbers. It's really, things are changing rapidly in entertainment. And I talk to my friends who are still in LA, showrunners, comics, writers, actors, actresses, and they're getting a little nervous about some of this stuff, but also optimistic because it's a whole new world. You don't have to go the traditional Hollywood route. Shannon Sharp's taught all of us this. First, all you have to do is have a Hall of Fame NFL career. No, but there's a lot more opportunities for you now than ever before. That's why you shouldn't wait. Really attack it this year. Go after it. It's all there for you. Try. and learn from your mistakes and then keep going. All right. I'll see you tomorrow.